Welcome back to The Line. Jeff Proctor with New Mexico In Depth reported this week on the Albuquerque Police Department's new use of force policy. The story is part of his ongoing series on the justice system. And Jeff reported that the chair of the Citizen Oversight Board for APD says the board was left out of the process of drafting that new policy. And Beth Moore also raised some concerns about the language of that new policy we'll get into. And Laura, what do you make of the legal concerns around this? There's a little bit of legalese we're going to have to parse our way through here. But in the overall sense of things, what was your sense of Ms. Moore's pushback here?
Well, I think she raised some legitimate concerns. So, as my husband constantly reminds me, lawyers like to parse words. We like to use very specific words and parse out their meaning. So for me, looking at this, I mean, the fact that they used the word feasible multiple times, more so than in any other type of policy like this. And they had, at least the story I read from Jeff Proctor, cited to other cities' policies also and compared sort of how many times they use the word feasible versus reasonable. And one of the issues that Ms. Moore brought up is that there's a standard, and basically in legal, in the legal world, there's different standards that you use, and one of them is the reasonable man standard and reasonable person standard. And it's the idea of like, what would a reasonable person do in a similar situation? It's a very common standard that's used in criminal law in particular. And in this situation, it would be, what would a reasonable officer do in this situation? So rather than using that reasonableness standard, the policy uses a feasible idea and sprinkles the word feasible throughout, which means that it isn't about whether it's a reasonable standard, what would a reasonable officer do in a similar situation. It's what is feasible for the officer at that point. Right. And so I think the allegations or the concern from Ms. Moore, as well as other people who have looked at the policy, is that that sort of gives you a lot of wiggle room for justifying actions from particular officers. So if something is feasible, then it becomes, there's just a lot more nuance in that, rather than what a reasonable person would do, a reasonable officer would do. Right. And so I think that's one of the concerns. The other thing that Ms. Moore brings up, which is I think a legitimate concern, is that the Police Oversight Board, as well as their investigative arm, which is the Civilian Police Oversight Agency, were not included at all in the drafting of these policies. Right. So they weren't provided an opportunity to review them, to comment, to give suggestions and input. So it seems to be just something that was created, with the DOJ and APD, but without input from the Citizens Oversight Committee, which is an important body that's supposed to participate and represent the public in a lot of these issues. And Merritt, the public is expecting that exact thing Laura was just talking about, to be part of that process. We were told we were going to be part of that process through things like this board. Why is it problematic for the board to not be there in the longer run? Does it mean that APD is going to have its final say versus the public, or are we going to just sort of negotiating here and just have some ways to go?
Well, we're talking about a policy, and what really needs to be overhauled at APD, I think everyone would agree, is culture. Yeah. And the document with its references to what's feasible at the instant in time, that goes to me to the bad old culture. That does give wiggle room. Then spending $100,000, but not bothering to engage them. I don't know what they spent $100,000 on, but then not bothering to engage the oversight board on it. I think it looks bad perceptually that the culture that we're going to respond, yes, as DOJ tells us to, but the culture isn't really going to change.
That's right. That was my sense reading it as well, what Merritt just said. We can give them room to push back a little bit. Every organization or an institution that has been calcified and just, it's hard to correct, that's what they're going to do. But it seems to me, if the citizen part is not part of that process, the whole thing's a fraud at that point.
Well, that's a very strong word.
Yes, it is.
But I think that part of what was supposed to happen here was this greater involvement by the Oversight Committee, and to Merritt's point, it is what we expect. It's clearly what the monitor expects. That's right. And this coming on the heels of other complaints and accusations about how this process is working, it just isn't very promising to see that. Now, okay, so maybe this is a process that APD has to go through. They have to work through their issues and their cultural problems, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a community that has expressed over time and very clearly that we want to see change happen faster than that, that this is an urgent issue for us. And dickering over well, we thought you told us not to copy anyone else.
That's right.
When the DOJ monitor says no, that's clearly not the way that
I'm
works.
glad you expanded that a little bit. It's part of a whole process that hasn't been going well
It doesn't.
at all.
It doesn't seem, at least on the surface, like APD has taken these elements as seriously as we expect them to.
But to be
Would you-
fair,
sorry,
fewer
let me
people have
get-
been shot. Fewer
That's
people
true.
have been shot by police.
Fair enough.
Since
That's right.
2014.
That's true.
Of course, since 2010, they've shot 40 people.
Well, when
There
you're
you
on
go,
your
too.
back, you got nowhere to go but up, right?
I suppose so.
I
but-
mean, I think at the end of the day, this is like a bad example of Groundhog Day. I mean, it's just every day it's the same thing over and over again. You know, I mean, if they don't like the citizen board, then, you know, don't shut them out. Have them come in and engage them in an open dialogue of what it's against, of what they're against, of what they disagree with, and work it out. But this whole, I mean, they're just creating, and I don't know why. I don't understand why. They're creating this constant fear of something's being done behind closed doors and it's not going to be done right, that no matter what the final product is, the people of Albuquerque are going to say, we don't like it. And I just think it's bad leadership. I think you should be stepping up and saying, look, let's just stop all of this. Let's get everybody in the room. And I think it's a great opportunity for the mayor. The mayor should say, listen, I want to bring the citizen board into my office. I want to bring the people into my office. I want to bring the federal people into my office. And the buck stops here. What do we need to do? And let's make it work. And, you know, I don't know how many more opportunities the mayor's going to get to do that. I mean, this is the gift that keeps on giving to him. I mean, he keeps getting opportunities to step forward. Someone has to do it. This is not going to end good for Albuquerque. The feds are not happy. The citizens are not happy. The police are not happy. I don't know anybody in this process that's stepping forward right now and saying, contrary to what everybody else thinks, we're happy. The police are upset. The citizens are upset. The lawyers are upset. The government's upset. The judges are upset. Nobody seems to be running to the front and saying we're happy. I don't think that's good for the citizens.